Hi, and welcome to my second session on the book review of the book So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo. Today I'm going to talk about chapters 2 and 3. In chapter 2 she talks about what is race and what is racism. You know, those words are difficult for us to use. They're kind of harsh words and we don't like to use them. Nobody wants to accuse someone else of being a racist, and we certainly don't want to be accused of being racist ourselves. There's so much misunderstanding and confusion and defensiveness around those words, race and racism, that we just tend to avoid them. She says that we often think of racism as prejudice against a person of color. And that's true, but she wants to take it further. She says that racism is prejudice against a person of color when that prejudice is backed up by systems of power. In other words, racism is not just for individuals, but racism is a system, it's systemic. She says that racism is woven into the pattern of our society. It's part of everything we do. And it's like a machine that just keeps on running underneath everything. We don't have to do anything to keep it running. We don't have to be a racist to benefit from racism, but it's always there. So the point is that it's not enough just to change the hearts and minds of individual people. That doesn't do anything to affect the systems of oppression, like police brutality and a lack of educational opportunity or income inequality or the school to prison pipeline that black men have. So she says that when we're thinking about race and racism, we need to think about not just individuals, but also the system that underlies racism. In chapter 3, she talks about having conversations about racism and race. She says these conversations are just difficult. She says that it was not until she was 34 years old that she was actually able to have a conversation with her own mother, who is white, about being black. She says her mother raised her and loved her so much. She loved everything about her. You know, her kinky hair and her black skin and her full lips. But her mother never really understood what it was like to be a black person. And so when they finally had the conversation about that, it helped clear it up a little bit and her mother could understand things better. So she gives some tips about how to have a conversation about race and racism. She says they're always going to be hard. There's going to be hurt and we're probably going to be uncomfortable, but we need to have them anyway. And some of those tips are do your research, do your background, and don't expect a person of color to have to educate you. And don't force a person of color into a conversation. You know, it's hard enough for them anyway and painful enough that they shouldn't have to be put on the spot. And she gives some tips about when things go wrong, which they inevitably will. She says, try not to get defensive. Be as open as you can. And don't just double down when you're in a bad place. Don't beat yourself up. Don't take credit for good intentions. And try again. She says these conversations are going to be hard because they're about the hurt and pain of real people, but we need to have them anyway. And she says it's important for us to have these conversations with people like us. White people need to have conversations about race with white people. And so that's what we're trying to do with these little video sessions, and I hope you'll join me next time. Thanks.